John Bolton, who served as U.S. National Security Advisor and U.S. Ambassador to the UN, is with me right now. Good morning to you. Let's get to this Wagner report. The Wagner Group saying what they're saying, that they're basically being annihilated out there in this war against Russia. It's a public disgrace for Moscow. Do you think it's a signal that Russia may pull out soon?
No, I don't think so. This guy, Prigozhin, originally was kind of an aide to Putin. He doesn't have a military background. The Wagner Group is a militia, would be a kind way to describe it. And Prigozhin's recruiting of Russians has been out of their prisons and so on. So it's hardly a classic military formation. And for him to go public with this rant against the professional Russian military, obviously also unusual. It may be that there's an internal struggle going on between the regular military and the Wagner Group, and that they are being starved of ammunition because basically their troops are just cannon fodder. But it certainly doesn't reflect well on Russia overall that they've spent all this effort with so little gain in the past several weeks and months.
And speaking of Russia, I think most Americans' prime concerns are not so much Ukraine, even though there have been a number of casualties, but whether or not Russia will have nuclear firepower and be a threat to us domestically. In terms of what we're seeing so far, U.S. intelligence, what do we know now? Will Putin employ that kind of firepower, especially in light of the fact that he's not willing to give in with Ukraine?
Well, I don't see any prospect of the use of tactical nuclear weapons by Russia, and haven't for the past year, and certainly no possibility of using strategic nuclear weapons against the United States. Where the Russians have been very successful, however, is intimidating the West, deterring NATO by this saber rattling of their nuclear capability. I do think there are circumstances where the use of battlefield nuclear weapons is possible. I don't think we're anywhere close to it, and have not been for the past year plus.
We have had this in the news, this Pentagon report, the release of these documents that have been so highly secure, and then all of a sudden, this young man decides to leak them to the public, perhaps one of the largest security breaches in U.S. history. Some saying that this is the former National Security Advisor. You are the former National Security Advisor, but the National Intelligence Director, Avril Haines, saying that this was demoralizing. But what more can the U.S. do to be indeed as secure as it should be?
Well, I think this and other leaks from what do you want to call them, whistleblowers or malcontents or people just showing off, and we've got a history of that, where this is different from Cold War days when people betrayed the country because of ideological reasons, or they betrayed the country because they were getting paid off by the Soviets or the Chinese or others. This is sort of personality types like Chelsea Manning, like the current case. And I think what it means is the agencies in the military, the civilian intelligence agencies, the State Department, all need to do a better job at looking at their own personnel and trying to spot this in advance, doing better at clearing people who are going to be in a position where they can access information, and looking for behavior that indicates that maybe they're not following the correct practices and keeping it safe.
It sounds, when you're speaking, I'm automatically thinking of this phenomenon that a lot of young people have right now, where they'll do anything to get likes, to get followers on social media. Is that the phenomenon that people actually need to be paying attention to with their own personnel?
Yeah, in the case of the current leak, this fellow Jake Teixeira, apparently he wanted to show how knowledgeable he was, and he was upset when the people in his network didn't appreciate what he was showing in the blog that they share, so he put more out there to the point where we really, I don't believe, still know fully how much intelligence may have been exposed. So there's a lot that needs to be done internally. It's a personnel, human resources question that supervisors are not paying attention to people who may be security risks.
Security risks because they want a little fame or infamy. Ambassador Bolton, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.